Hey guys, welcome to a recap of my new tournament here in Almaty, Kazakhstan. I'm playing in a very interesting tournament. Today I played 3 games. All of them were very high quality. In all of them I played at above 90% accuracy. But the last one was a truly heartbreaking event. You will see. It was played, by the way, against an international master. The first and the second one have been played against weaker opposition, but still they are very instructive. Stay tuned. And the format is as follows. We have 20 minutes each per game, plus 30 seconds increment after each move. So it's a hybrid in between rapid and classical, and it's rated as rapid. So you can see here my rapid rating, 1897. My classical is a bit higher, but I don't play too much rapid. And I'm playing in the first round Alihan Armanuli, a young Kazakhstani player. His rating is low, but those young Kazakhstani players are usually underrated, so you should be careful when playing them. So I open up with e4, and we have Pyrrhic defense, or modern defense, as it is sometimes called. So this is all standard. Black castles short and white castles long. So I would like to start an attack to barrel down this side of the board and checkmate my opponent. This is my plan. So he goes e5. I go with the knight to take with the knight. If he takes, I take. He goes a6, preparing b5. He wants to advance on this side of the board. I castle long, all standard. He develops the knight, and I jump in with this bishop. It is very important to trade this dark squared bishop of black in those variations, because it's the most powerful piece. It's called also the dragon bishop. It sees the b2 square, and very often it's very important in the attack when the queen comes out, and the rook comes out, and they all try to attack my b2 square. So to prevent this, it's very useful to trade like this. So I recommend you do this when you have the chance. So that's why sometimes black goes rook e8 to be able to go bishop h8 to not trade in such positions, but he didn't do that, so he allowed me to trade. Here I just go h4. I'm not in a rush. I will be able to trade later. I want him to take me. I'll take with the queen, and the queen will get added into the attack. He plays rather passively, and you can see by the eval bar that this is not enough. You don't have the luxury of waiting here. You should counterattack immediately. c5, b5, b4. This is the only way to survive here for black. He was too slow. He made 2 inaccurate moves, and now I'm completely winning because I'm the first to get to his king. So he develops, but I go h5, and now I just want to open this file and checkmate him over there. Here I already trade, because here he wanted to escape with the bishop, so I'm not giving him that. And I trade, opening this file. The h file is opened. He takes with the f pawn, because if he takes with the h pawn, this is checkmate in 2, because my rook supports the queen. So he sees that. That's why he takes here. And I check him, and he goes back. Now there is no, obviously, queen h8. So he's not getting checkmated yet, but his position is horrible. There are many ways to win this. I choose one of the ways with g5, kicking his knight. And I was thinking of sacking the rook here. It's also very good because you have very good compensation. But I decided against this because I remembered my coach's advice. My grandmaster coach tells me that when you have a good position, there is no need to sacrifice pieces. Why risk? You can win without risk. Do it. So his voice was in my head. I really wanted to sack the rook here, but I didn't, and I'm glad that I managed to to combat this this feeling. So instead I took this light squared bishop of his, because now his light squares are very weak, and I will be able to use it, of course. And I go f4. I want to go f5, and my attack is unstoppable. He draws back, but I go f5 nonetheless. Of course, he cannot take, because then I'll take his knight. So he tries here to jump in with the knight, attacking my rook and my bishop and a pawn, and it might look like he's winning some material, but it's just an illusion. If he takes here, I take with the rook, my attack continues. Next I'll go here, or maybe... Well, there are many ways to win here, but this did not happen. Instead, he decided to take the free pawn, but it was not free because here I go bishop d3 and my bishop gets added into the attack. And I just have all my pieces in the attack, whereas his knight on b6 and rook on a8 are not doing anything to defend the king. So he has to sack the rook for the knight, for the bishop here, because otherwise if he draws back, I just take and he's destroyed. So he sacks the exchange here. But his position is in shambles. And there are, again, many ways to win this, but I choose the one where I sack this pawn to open up files and drop back. And now rook g3 is a threat and really winning the queen, and really there is not much he can do about it. He, of course, can drop back, but then I have, for example, this move, and I'll take here next and take all his pawns. So in time trouble, might I remind you that we have just 20 minutes per game, so here we are both kind of reaching the time trouble. He blundered rook g3, and the rest is very easy. I just take his queen, go queen f6. Now my plan is rook here and rook here, checkmate. He tries to defend, but I just take the pawn, and he resigns here because there is the checkmate in several moves. For example, this, check, this, check, this, check, and if he was here, this is a checkmate in 2. So one of the ways to checkmate, there are many other ways. So the first one, I win. Of course, the opponent is not that strong. Let's go to the second round game, where I'm facing Dilala Sadvakasova. She is a young lady from Kazakhstan, around 10 years old, and I'm always scared of playing youngsters from Kazakhstan because they are very, very dangerous. Sometimes they are rated 1500, but they play like 2000s, and I'm not exaggerating. So this lady started attacking me from the get-go. So this is the French defense, my beloved weapon against 1e4. This is all theory, and here bishop d3 is a gambit. White is gambiting this d4 pawn to attack black. So I take here, and she draws back, and this is a move that I didn't expect, and I've never seen it actually. The computer says it's a mistake, but it got me unawares. I know the line with cd, I know the line with castles, but bishop c2, it's the first time I'm seeing this move. And I thought for some time I reacted correctly, the computer approved, so I took this pawn, and then I went bishop d7, just developing. But here I really wanted to punish this bishop moving 2 times. I knew that the usual setup here is knight g7 and slowly putting the knight here, bishop here, sometimes bishop here if I get the chance, but very often this fails to knight a4. So I've played this against Jan Gustafsson, second to Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi. Check out the podcast if you haven't seen it. And I won, by the way. It was a fascinating bliss game. And I thought first of all to do this, but then I thought maybe I can go f6. And turns out f6 is a mistake and already gives white some advantage, as you can see by the eval bar. So bishop f4, she reacts correctly, and rook e1. She does everything perfectly, and she's +1. So a lady with 1500 rating is killing me in the opening in 10 moves. I'm already much worse. And she's 10 years old, and I feel very, very uncomfortable here. So I decide to castle long, because my king needs to get out of danger, but I realize that I'm in trouble here at this time. Thankfully, she does not play the most accurate chess here. He goes a4, which is almost like loses all the advantage. a3 would have been much better, or rook c1 or other moves, but a4 doesn't do much. So I go knight g7, and I've already almost equalized. She draws back, attacking my queen, and I go queen b4. So this is the drawback of a4. Pawns don't go backwards. She would have loved to kick me with a3, but pawns don't go backwards. And now my queen is active. Maybe I'll transfer it to g4, which I really do. And it's equal, but I would take black here because I'm attacking the center, and it's very difficult for white to hold everything together. Precision is required here. She did not play them in the most precise way. She just gave me this pawn. I exchanged the queens, and in a couple of moves, I got a completely winning position. So she misplayed it. Somehow she wanted to continue attacking me still, but I did not give her any chance. Now I jump in with my knight, attacking the bishop. I just trade. I'm up a couple of pawns, so trades are good for me. I drop back to avoid any discoveries on this file. Now I take the open file with my rook. Now I activate my bishop. Now I attack this f2 pawn and the position just collapses for white. Here I go bishop b5 and she's tied. This is some very unpleasant stuff for white. Completely tied down. Not something I would recommend you unless you are a BDSM fan. So rook f7. Here I want to just put another rook here and destroy her on the f-file, so she has to block with the bishop, but I just take. She cannot take with the rook because the knight would be hanging, so she takes with the king, and now I go rook c2 and again completely tying down the white's position before, and I just go king c7, and next, whenever I want to, because she's tied down, she cannot escape the spin. Whenever I want to, I can trade and go into winning pawn endgame. So she resigned in this position, so I won in 30 moves. This game I won in with 90% accuracy. The previous one I won with 96% accuracy. Crazy, right? But this is just like appetizer. The main course is this one. I'm playing against an international master, Leonid Nozdrachov. His rapid rating is 2180, but please don't be misled by this rating. His strength is much higher. In Kazakhstan, he just like myself, keeps playing talented juniors who are underrated, and when he draws them, he loses a bunch of rating. His peak rating used to be 2450-ish, so he's very strong, very dangerous. And I'm playing with the white pieces against him. e4, c5, the Sicilian defense. I use my pet line with knight c3, and here this is called the chameleon Sicilian. Why is it a chameleon? Because sometimes this transposes into the main lines of the Sicilian with knight d4, but sometimes it doesn't transpose. So like a chameleon, this knight is like trying to disguise its intentions. So knight c6, g3. So here d5, Leonid strikes in the center, very principled approach. I take, and go d4. Now I want him to take me, because this will leave him with an IQP, isolated queenside pawn. If you want to play chess well, you should study those positions, how to play against an IQP. It can be an asset, it can be a weakness. In this position, it's both. But I like playing against an IQP. I did not mind this. Of course, he doesn't take. He goes bishop g4, also very principled, and for an untrained eye, this may look like black is completely dominating, because this is a pin and black wants to take here or go bishop f3, suffocating white. So what's white's plan? But actually this is all theory, and I knew this theory. I went bishop g2, so this is a sacrifice of a pawn. He takes here, h3, very important move, only move in this position to not, well, castles is also okay, but h3 is the only move to fight for advantage. Now, if he checks me here, he loses, because I go king f1, and his knight will fall, because his bishop is hanging, he has to go here, and then his knight will fall. So this is a trap. He, of course, being an international master, does not fall into this trap. He goes bishop f3, which is the best move. And here, again, I use my prep, I go king f1, the best move again. So this looks awkward, but actually white is better, because black has some trouble coordinating pieces, and yes, black is up a pawn, but this pawn will soon likely fall. So he goes knight f6, and here I just mixed up my moves. I remember that after queen f6, queen d3 is the move, and I somehow mixed up my move orders, my transpositions. And here I thought I forgot what to do here. And first I thought maybe I take and go knight f4. Now the knight is hanging and this pawn is attacked 3 times, but then I thought would have just knight d4, and I didn't see a good way to proceed here. Turns out bishop e3 gives some significant advantage to white. So I forgot this was in my file, but I forgot it. I thought for some time, and I decided, you know what, I will not take here. Instead, I go queen d3, because I remembered something vaguely along those lines. Turns out I remembered incorrectly. He traded, and here he's just up a pawn. Yes, I have some compensation. I have the 2 bishops advantage, so it's around equal, but not something I would have loved to to get after the opening with white against the master. So I thought here for some time, and I decided to trade the queens because my king is too weak. I decided, you know what, I'll trade the queens. This pawn is weak, maybe I'll win it back. So I went bishop g5. Now I'm threatening to take and take this pawn. He goes rook d8, a very clever move. So now if I take, he takes, and if I take here, he can just go here. This is what I calculated. And if I get greedy and take another pawn, he goes rook d2 and is practically winning, because in opposite side, opposite color bishops, bishop endgames or middle games, it's very important who attacks. It's not important if you have an extra pawn or not. It's important to attack. And here he is attacking. He will go bishop d4. He will just destroy me here, even though I'm up a pawn here. So this I calculated. I did not want to go for that. I thought maybe I will take these pawns later. For the time being, I want to activate my pieces. Rook d1 is the best move according to the engine. This game, again, I played at 93% accuracy, and my opponent played like a god. You will see. So he went king c7. And here I decided, okay, I'll trade. I'll go into an endgame. He goes here. And again, I'm not taking here because rook d2 gives significant advantage to black, close to winning. I thought here I'll go c4. I will not allow him to infiltrate with the rook. Yes, he will take a pawn and he will emerge up a pawn, but I thought it's completely equal because it's opposite side, opposite color bishops, and I'm activating my king. Next, I'll activate my rook, maybe infiltrate over there, so he has to be also cautious here. So, okay, he draws back. It's a very symmetrical position, except for the fact that he has the b pawn, but it should be a draw, I thought. So I go rook b1, attacking the pawn. He goes b6 to defend it. And I go h4 to just advance maybe a little bit my pawns on the king side. The rule of thumb is in endgames you should put the pawns on the same color as your bishop. In opposite color bishop endgames, in middle games it's different. In middle games you should generally put pawns on the color complex of your opponent's bishop. But here, it's in openings, it's advised to put the pawns on the light squares. So I wanted to do that, but first I went h4 to disallow him from expansion like g5, and I wanted to go g4 next. I did not want to go f3 because that would have allowed him to infiltrate via the e3 square. This is important. So he goes rook d6. He invites me, take this pawn, because that would have led to disaster. Rook f6 forks the bishop and the f2 pawn, and it's not just the f2 pawn, but it's the a2 pawn as well, and black is winning, so of course I'm not falling into that trap. Again, I said I played this game quite well. I went rook b3. So if he goes here, I will go here, and it will be a completely drawn position. This is a complete draw. The computer shows 0 0 0 0. So even though he's up a pawn, you will not win this. So he understands this, of course. He does not go rook f6. He goes rook d7, just biding his time, waiting, maneuvering. I go rook f3, attacking the pawn. He goes f6, defending it. And I go a4. Maybe in some future, I will even break with a5 and go rook a3, rook a5, or rook b3, infiltrating on the b file. Again, pawns are not that important. Piece activity is much more important in endgames, especially in opposite colored bishop endgames. So he checks me, I draw back, he activates the rook, and I go g4, again following my plan. He goes h5, trying to imbalance the position. He wants to play for a win because he's I am just a mere mortal. If I take, I will now have two weaknesses, and the f2 and the h4 pawns. And of course, I'm still it's still equal, but you should work for your draw. You should sweat it out. So I decide I'll go rook f4. I'll wait a little bit. This is the best move according to the engine. He goes king d6. Again, in some positions, he has the idea of sacking the rook for bishop and the pawn and advancing his pawns. But I decided that it's not dangerous here, and the computer agrees. And I decided, you know what, I'll wait, I'll activate my king a little bit, moving it a little bit closer to the center. It will not hurt me. He goes a6, preparing maybe b5, because if I take, he takes. I cannot take because the bishop will hang, so it's an important idea. But here I came up with a clever plan, I thought. I took, and I went rook e4, sacrificing the pawn, and actually the computer says this is the best move. So if he takes, I will infiltrate, and if he goes here, I will check him. And if he goes here, there will be some discovered checks and he will lose, or maybe he won't. Maybe bishop. Maybe rook d6. Anyways, this is because this would have lost me the game. The discovered check fails to this, but there are other moves here. Maybe rook, bishop f3, for example. Yeah, nice one. So this is not good. And if he goes here, I take this pawn. Actually, no. This is clever. This wins the rook. So that would have been tragic. But I have king e2 first, for example, and then I can take. So this is a draw. And he did not want me to infiltrate with the rook. Once I went rook e4, he realized that this is dangerous. And he did not want me to do this, even at the cost of a pawn. So he went rook e5. And if I take here, he will take with the king. And yes, it's a draw, but his king might infiltrate. So I did not want to take him. I wanted him to take my rook. I said, take my rook. Well, I didn't say it. Of course, we were sitting at the chessboard. You are not allowed to speak. but he realized that he has to take here. Actually, the computer says that this is also equal. This is equal. Well, anyone can win here. So he decided against this. He decided to trade here. And here, if I take with the king, there are some problems like this, because if I take, there is f5 and I lose because I have to guard the bishop. And I lose the bishop. So this is a trap that he said. Of course, I saw it, so I did not take with the king. I took with the bishop. And here I was mentally preparing for a draw because, yes, he has an extra pawn, but it's an opposite colored bishop endgame. Anything draws here. So he kept maneuvering, but I also kept maneuvering. He has no squares to break. He has to activate his king, but all these squares are protected by my pawns. He cannot get closer to me. And if he goes, for example, here, he cannot even go here because my bishop blocks it. So he cannot get to h6. He cannot get to any squares. So here I was thinking, yeah, it's going to be a draw. But he tried for some tricks. He went king d6. And once I attacked him, if he goes here, a5, then he will never break with b5. This is a dead draw. So here he decided to sack a pawn and to try to play for a win, which is a clever idea. It doesn't work, but it's clever. c4. He wants to run his pawn, and maybe he can trick me somehow. Will he be able to do this? Well, let's see. King e4. I activate the king. Watch the evil bar. It's completely equal. He activates the king. I protect my pawn. He marches his pawn. I go here. If he takes on f4, I take on c3. He doesn't want it, so he activates the king. Now I don't want him to take my pawn, so I go f5. He goes here, and there are many ways to draw this, but I decide to take the most active route. I check him, and I go bishop e4, and I calculate that I can sack this bishop for the pawn and run my king to his pawns, win them, and at least it should be a draw. Maybe I'll even win. This is I calculated this briefly because I had like 30 seconds on the clock. I was playing on the increment by this time. So he went bishop e3. Now he's threatening to queen, so I take, and I run with my king, and I run with my king, and I run with my king, and I take one of his pawns. His bishop is stuck guarding this pawn, and also I'm threatening marching my h pawn. So it's very dangerous. Black can lose this, theoretically. Black can draw this if Black finds the precise moves. Actually, there are many ways to draw this. So he goes king e6, and here something happened. 60 moves. I was playing my best chess, like almost like a computer. No significant mistakes, no inaccuracies. Top engine moves, several moves with an exclamation mark by the computer. Somehow it's chess.com is not demonstrating these, but on the screen, but in the game review, I had like 5 exclam points. But somehow here I miscalculated. I thought, yeah, I go h6. He goes a5, and I was calculating h7, f4. If I go h8 queen, he will check me and then take my queen. I'll take his bishop, and he will queen first. And if he goes, I go b6 and b7, he will be in time to catch my pawn, whereas his pawn will queen. I calculated this, and I was like, am I really losing? Then I calculated h7, f4, king g6, getting out of this check on d4. Bishop d4 is forced, because otherwise I will queen. And I calculated that I can have b6, he cannot take me. So let me show this variation. h7, f4, king g6, bishop d4, controlling the square. b6, he cannot take, because h8 will be a queen. So he has to go king d7. And then I calculated king f5, f3, he has to move, and king e4. And somehow I miscalculated. I thought, well, he'll just go f2, and I lose, because this is a queen. And if I queen e1 wins my queen. And I lose. And I was like, oh God, I miscalculated. And I didn't think about b7. I had a draw here. b7 is a draw, because he has to go here, and I queen with check. This is a very important difference. And now I can take, because if he queens, I queen with check, and it's a draw. This is like a Reti study, endgame study, very beautiful. So this should have been a draw in this position. If I go h7, h7 is a draw. I should have calculated this sequence, and I miscalculated. And I thought, okay, I'm losing. My clock is ticking down, and I'm just like, okay, should I resign? Okay, I'll just make another move. I went king g6, and it was the decisive blunder. He just took, and I resigned here. And I didn't know that I had a draw. So I didn't know that this was the blunder. Turns out king g6 lost me the game. Before that, I was playing perfectly, almost perfectly. This is heartbreaking. I could have drawn a strong international master, but anyways, the first day ended not that bad. 2 out of 3. Tomorrow I will have 3 more games to play, and maybe I'll play some other masters, FIDE masters, international masters, because there are many in the tournament. So we'll see how I fare. I'm looking forward to your comments and likes, because these types of content do not gain that many views on my channel, recaps. So if you like this video and write a comment, I will be more motivated to make new ones. And thanks for your time. See you in the next one. Bye bye.